What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another Naughty Log Homes video. Today we're going to be talking about the application of stain and sealants on a log home throughout the restoration process, right? This is where we're at. So we've gone over it in a couple other videos. Check them out if you haven't seen them. They'll be going on our channel here soon, but we've got, 6 steps to a restoration process, maybe 7. We've got, number 1, our inspection. Okay, that's going through, just seeing what's going on with the house, what we need to do to remedy it, bring it back to normal.
Yep. Step 2, you've got masking the windows, putting plastic over things you don't want to get hit with the blaster. Then you got step 3.
Stripping.
Stripping.
Yeah, we got to strip the stain off this house. Now,
this is Naughty Log Homes, so stripping is a major part of what we do.
Yeah, it's not that it's in the name or anything, but it's in the name. So, no, we'll touch base on that. There's multiple ways to go about it. Depends on the house. That's why you follow these steps. The inspection's going to tell you the best way to proceed. Number 4 is going to be our touch-up step. That's, Osborne brushing where needed, filling woodpecker holes if you got any rot repair you need to do, touching up that kind of stuff. Number 5, what we're talking about today.
Stain application.
Bam. All right, guys, if you like what you see here, make sure you chop that like button, hit the subscribe for the YouTube algorithm. It really helps us out. And drop us a comment if you have any questions. We'd love to answer some more questions in later videos.
And so, what are the prerequisites that you need for stain application?
Well, the biggest one is going to be what's going on underneath the stain. What does that surface look like for that stain to adhere to, right? How is it going to last over, the next 5, 10 years? It's what's it being applied on top of.
Yeah, and so we can put a graphic on this video and kind of show you the difference or the similarities or comparison between a rough log and a very smooth log and how the stain can apply to each. And actually, when we have right here is a multi-textured surface. It looks smooth, but if you feel it, it is a little bit on the textured side and actually has more surface area for the stain to adhere to.
A little bit naughty,
if you will.
No, but it's one of those things, man, that, I just went and looked at a house yesterday and they had put on some Thompson water seal or weather seal, I forget what they call it, but it's a wood stain. They use it a lot on decks. Really, it's not made for log homes, right? And you can see it failing. The stain around most of the house was pretty good. It's not that bad, but it's pretty dirty. And then on those weather walls, you're getting just absolute failure. It's flaking off in huge chunks. I mean, I could peel 5-inch strips off of this thing. And it's like, well, the homeowners wanted to know, hey, can't we just kind of touch this up and the rest of it's okay, right? And it's like, we don't know what's going on underneath it. We can't apply our products over the top of something else and expect it to last. We can't warranty that work. We can't guarantee it's going to last. So
you wouldn't want that for your own home, so we don't do that.
Exactly. So what's going on behind the stain is really, really important. If you guys want to know the best way to put this on, the technique that we've perfected over hundreds of these houses, applying the stain and clear coat, stick around to the end of the video. We're going to go over that. We're going to teach you exactly how to do it in your business or on your home. This is something that anyone can do, man. You just have to
put in the time,
commit to high quality, and don't skip anything.
That's it. So now, folks, we're ready to apply the stain. And what we're looking for before we apply the stain is you've got a freshly blasted wall, or log, if you will. And what we've done is we've actually brushed off the fiber so there's no fuzziness here. We've blown out all the dust, and this thing it's perfectly clean. I mean, nothing.
And really what you've got, right, is a slightly porous surface. I mean, media blasting is an abrasive process. It's not going to leave this log totally smooth, furniture quality finish. But that's not what you want to get the most longevity out of your stain. If you think about stain on a microscopic level, you've got kind of these peaks and valleys of your surface that your stain is attaching to, right, that it's adhering to. On wood, if you really, really dove in there, you could see all at the cellular level. You've got peaks and valleys. It looks like a mountain range, if you will. Smoothing that out, to a furniture finish where it's just flat on a microscopic level isn't going to let the stain stick in as many places. It's not going to have as much surface area to actually attach itself to, and eventually that's going to lead to failure over time. What we want is a little bit of porosity, a little bit of surface area on these logs for that stain to get in all these cracks and crevices, attach itself to, give it more surface area to adhere to, and that's going to help give you the longevity that you need.
Essentially, you have more stain in this area than you would if it was flat, right?
Right.
So as a crow flies, there would be this amount of stain, but then you have to go through all of your valleys there, and
Right.
which equals more protection.
Yeah. One other thing to talk about is you can notice we're in a little bit of a shaded area of the house right now, and this is a area that you'd want to start on. With these stains, with any stains, sealants, caulking, chinking, anything like that, you have to keep it in a good temperature range.
Plan ahead, number one. Anticipate the sun, anticipate the weather, right?
Yeah.
That's key whenever you're putting these finishes on.
This stuff is very, very sensitive to temperature fluctuations. We have to have between 40 and 80 degrees Fahrenheit to apply these things, and that's actually temperature on the log, not ambient air temperature. Those things can vary greatly. Get yourself one of those little laser heat guns, and you can literally just shoot this thing and be like, okay, it's sitting at 60 degrees, we're good to go, we're going to apply it. What happens if you don't listen to that advice and you're applying in direct sunlight?
Well, you can get milky, not transparent stain. It could be not adhering to your log, so the next day it could actually flake off. Lots of different things. We try not to experience any of those things at Naughty Log, but it happens, right? So just plan ahead, make sure you're doing all those steps, and anticipate the weather. Yeah, another thing to note is thermal mass, right? And that's going to eliminate the problem if you have one of those laser thermometers. But thermal mass, this thing can be in the sun for 2 hours. Well, it might not be ready to stain for another 2 hours. Just because it's in the shade doesn't mean this thing is going to release all that heat. That's why log homes are so efficient, thermal mass.
And another thing to touch on is just if the ultimate goal of what we're doing here is to only have to do this once, right? It's not a cheap, easy process. It doesn't, take one day. It's time consuming, it's expensive, it's a big investment that you're putting into your log home. You want this thing to last for as long as possible. These are the steps we have to be aware of so that we get that ultimate outcome. If we skip any single one of these, you're going to have catastrophic results at the end, and ultimately it might be a waste of money. That's the last thing we want for any of our clients, anybody watching these videos. We don't want you to waste money. We want these things to last. I mean, these are beautiful, beautiful structures. It's like, let's do it right the first time, and make sure it lasts for years to come.
So before we actually get into the techniques of putting the stain on the house, I wanted to touch base real quick on Sashco's Capture line with the Flex Tint cartridge. It's fantastic. I wanted to go through and have Jesse show you how to actually mix in the cartridge with the base neutral. So what he's gonna do is he's gonna cut off the nipple there. We're gonna pull this lid off of here. And it's just like a standard caulk tube.
And then
and so now we're just gonna take, any old drill with the mixing. What do they call this, Jesse? The mixing rod.
Yes, mixing one.
Or the stir stick, if
They have
you
a
will.
bunch of different ones, but I like this big wide one.
And the key here, folks, is you need to make sure that you don't get any more bubbles or any more of those streaky colors. You want it to be perfectly blended. And you can see it almost looks like the Milky Way galaxy here. We don't want that. So you're gonna mix, sometimes it could take 2 minutes depending on the temperature.
And
Sometimes it
sometimes
can
I'll
take
let
15.
it sit for a second and regather everything down at the bottom. And then just continue.
And sometimes these colors, pigments, can actually sink to the bottom.
Yeah.
And we always want to constantly stir. There's a lot of things we like about the Sashco products here. As you can see, this is the Capture water-based neutral base solution, and they have these little indicators here. This is step one of the process, right? Well, the cool thing we like about this is that we can actually buy a bunch of these neutral bases, and then we have a bunch of different color options. So you don't have to worry about buying 20 gallons of an oak color or a walnut or chestnut color, right? So you put the sample on the house and they decide what color they want. Cool. You can mix exactly what you need on the job. You don't have to pre-order. There's no thinking involved. And that's fantastic when you're in this kind of business.
What I really enjoy about using the water base versus like a solvent base or oil base or whatnot, the fumes on this are very low. So it is easier to work with all day long. You don't get lightheaded. I'm quite chemical sensitive from working in furniture refinishing shops my entire life. So lacquer-based products give me headaches, things like that. This one I can spray all day, no problem. We usually put a very heavy coat on first, back brush it in, basically make the logs suck up as much of this finish as they can in the very beginning. Then we go back through and put a second coat on to make sure it's all blended in nicely, back brush that too to keep drips from happening. That's the one thing I've noticed with this type of stuff and working on log homes is you have a lot of gaps and cracks that'll hold finish for a long time, so you have to make sure you pay good attention to your back brushing process to make sure you don't end up with drips and keeping the finish looking nice and even. And then when we're done with that, we finish with the clear coat Cascade, which is the UV protectant side of it all, and puts a nice gloss finish over the house, which really pops out that grain and allows you to see a lot of the detail in the log home when you're done.
All right, guys, so over here, we're ready for the first coat of stain. Jesse's gonna apply this Capture neutral base. We've mixed in the wheat color cartridge. We've got a 5-gallon bucket down here. I don't know, he's got 200 feet of hose, but we're back here on this wall. Key here on the first coat, we gotta apply it heavy and thick. We like that thick here at Knotty. And we're gonna back brush it. We don't want any drips happening. So I'm gonna get out of his way, let him work. We're gonna see the process on that first coat of stain.
And pro tip for everybody spraying these things, you're spraying a round surface. So you're not just able to shoot straight at it. You have to come from the bottom and work your way up and shoot down at the top to make sure you're getting even coats.
That's why he's the main man. You can see he's got it pretty well soaked on there. Getting a bit of running happening. And that's where the back brush comes in. Got to get that stain into the pores of that wood. And getting those little bristles from the brush in there is what does that. Now, one other thing to note about why we love this Sashco Capture stain so much, it's water-based, we've gone over that, low VOC, but it's got substantial elasticity qualities, and that's what you want on a log home. Logs are moving, right? They're basically alive. Moisture contents, humidity levels, all that stuff changes in the seasons. Those logs are going to expand and contract a little bit. They're going to be moving. And your stain, when it's that thick, hard, acrylic type stain that's like, it doesn't move with the wood. This has so much elasticity, it allows it to move and flex with the logs without actually cracking or breaking. All right, so we're over here on a wall. We've already got one coat on. We've let it cure. What's our cure time on these?
It's 4 to 12 hours depending on weather and temperatures.
Okay, so it's been at least 12 hours, right?
Over 12 hours.
Yeah,
for
okay,
sure.
over 12 hours on this wall. We're set up. We're ready to go with the second coat. Jesse's going to touch a little bit on what he's looking for, what he's doing on the second coat, and then you'll see a little bit of action.
So the first coat is already applied, which means that these logs are no longer going to accept as much stain as they did on the first coat. So the second coat's going to be a lot more light and even, and you're just trying to get a nice even coat across the logs to make it blend in as best you can. And you still will back brush, yes. Definitely will still back brush. This is just going to make sure you hit all those spots you might have missed on the first set. If you do a good enough job spraying it and it's no drips, then you really don't need to back brush, but it's still a good way to make sure it's nice and even and get all your brush strokes and any kind of blotchiness out of the logs. Your wrists get a good workout doing this stuff, by the way.
All right, that's it for today's video, going over the application of stains on a fully restored log home. Be sure to stick around. We're going to go through each step of the process, dive deep. Don't forget to smash that, chop that like button. Hit subscribe for the YouTube algorithm. Drop us a comment. Let us know if you have any questions, comments, concerns. We'd love to address them. What else you got for the good folks at home?
My last bit of advice is always stay naughty.